Record button. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Premier Madden podcast. I'm your host, Finn, and back with me after, I think you only missed one episode, but.
Yeah, we just haven't done that many.
Right. You're back. Anthony, what's up? What's up?
Not much, man. Not much. Just lost the game to the 49ers. All my fault. Made some horrible reads, but what are you going to do?
Who cares at this point? When you've got a taste of the next Madden.
Yeah, but I remember having a taste of this Madden and it turning out to be a completely different game, but I'm sure we'll get to all that.
So, since the last time we did the podcast, the beta came out. How was your journey to getting a beta code? Was it pretty simple? Were you handed some codes?
It was. So typically, last year I asked, I DM'd the official EA account because they'd given me codes before for the official game in the past. I was like, man, I definitely can get one of these. So last year was really, really easy for me. I just asked for one and I got one. This year, I don't know if you've noticed, but my Twitter account got suspended for some BS. Should be back here in the next couple of days, but it got suspended, so I didn't have access to that to even ask. So I just had to, find a code just like anybody else. And the Natural posted those forum ones. I wasn't like, if I wasn't going to get one, I wasn't going to be that upset because I knew it was only for a couple of days. But I jumped into those forums because it seemed like those were probably real low traffic compared to the hundreds of thousands of people that are sitting on their Twitter account just waiting, hitting refresh every single few minutes to catch their next tweet with codes dropping in it. And the forums were so legit, man. I went on very first try to put in a code. It got accepted. So,
oh damn! I had an interesting journey. Obviously, I got two consoles, so I felt like I had double the chances. Didn't get emailed one.
Yeah, me neither.
For the first bit, definitely struggled with getting codes. I actually have unplugged my Xbox and PlayStation for a while just to kind of relax a little bit. But then I found out about the beta, and I was like, all right, well, I'll try for a code for some of my league buddies to see if I can get one. And the thrill of getting one, you know. So I had the hiccups for a second. But anyway, so I tried a PlayStation code via one of those random drops. I got it, but I didn't know that you had to click through a couple screens after you put the code in to truly redeem it. So I was like, I was celebrating, and then I just went through the rest of the screens, and it was like, this code's been redeemed. And I was like, what? And then I was given a code by Vikings in the league through DMs. But when I went to put it in, because I had tried too many times on my PlayStation account to try and put in a code, it suspended me for 24 hours from submitting codes.
Spam.
Right. That was the day before the beta. So, and then when I contacted support, they told me that the code had already been used. So Vikings done sold me a bad code.
Oh, damn.
So
it seems like the type.
Right. So I'm sitting there it was funny is Raiders had given me a code in the chat, bless his heart. But I told him bless his heart, man. Bless his little heart. That's what I say every time he throws me a pick. It's just, oh my God, man, bless your heart. I love you. Thank you. But bless your heart. But you're the one who said squirrely 3 episodes into this thing. I never heard that one before.
Who did I call squirrely?
You were talking about Madden in general. And you're just like, yeah, that play was a little squirrely. And I was like, all right, follow-up question.
No, that's not me. That's not my word. That's a Rob word.
Nah, that was 100% you.
That could not have been me, man.
Dollar bet on it. I will find that.
Go for it.
We got 24 hours.
I'll send you a Madden beta code.
I'm pretty. So, anyways, this code game, that didn't work out. And then I was doing a video for the Natural and his Super Bowl game against the Niners. I was doing the breakdown, kind of having some fun, testing something out to see if I want to do it for my leagues next season. It's like a copy of those detail videos by Kobe Bryant and Peyton Manning. I want to take one or two games a season from the league and really break it down, if it was a film study like they do in those things. So I was just testing to see how it felt, if it felt natural or not. No pun intended. But halfway through, they start tweeting out codes. So I'm in the middle of a video and I'm just stuttering my way trying to do content at the same time. And I was like, my bad, guys. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to try and get a code. I didn't even get one.
Wow.
So And then finally, they were doing this thing the day before or the morning of. Yeah, it was the morning of. It was the morning of Friday. They were dropping codes. But what they would do, they drop a bunch of codes and then reply to that tweet with a bunch of more codes. So they dropped the Xbox code one, and I was like, I'm not going to fall for that. They're about to drop another one. Lo and behold, they dropped another one, and that's how I got the Xbox code. Easy day. So code strategy. If they drop one tweet with a fuck ton of them, they're going to drop another one. Wait for the second one because everybody else is too occupied getting the first one.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's another thing. When I was doing mine in the forum, I didn't even try the first code on the list. Right. I went down, and I went about 2/3 of the way down.
Right.
Just picked a random one, highlighted it with my cursor. I was on my computer. Just highlighted it so I could just back and forth real quick.
Right.
And I think I probably did all that, and I didn't even need to because I went on there and I logged on my buddy's account to get one too after that, and just redeemed it for him from the same exact list, and it was 10 minutes later. So,
all right. So we both got in. That's great. We bored everybody with the first 10 minutes of this thing. So let's talk about the gameplay, man. The beta, there's a lot of options. You could play with those teams head to head. We found out you can do online franchise, so it made life a lot more fun for us because we just did an online franchise, invited our buddies, and then we could play with any team we wanted to against real users. So that was cool.
That was a good call.
Yeah, it was pretty dope. It's pretty dope. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it definitely was fun. And we got to, you got to play with a lot of different teams, see who the X Factors were, who weren't the X Factor players. Some guys got snubbed, I felt like. Some guys didn't get snubbed. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then we got to see a little bit more of what the different abilities are for the players. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about your first gameplay impressions. Obviously, there was a lot going on. It's kind of hard because you've got so many different new mechanics that you're trying to learn and play with and test out in a limited amount of time. But what jumped out for you?
I mean, first and foremost, the RPOs I think were probably my favorite part of the experience. Just to see something completely different that we haven't seen yet in this game. I felt like that was just really fun. Just a new aspect that actually felt like it worked. Sorry, they've added new aspects like this, I guess, into the game. You can go as far back as the damn QB vision cone or whatever, but things like that have just never really caught on or worked. This is something that I hope catches on, but I hope is not game breaking in the sense that guys are just going to get so good at using it that you just can't stop it type of thing, or that they have to sort of nerf it to where it's sort of non-existent, sort of like the read option became. That was a really awesome new feature, and probably the most similar to this. But it just got completely nerfed because you just got the right quarterback back there and nobody could stop it. So,
right. I think it's gonna help increase the skill gap a little bit. Especially I think in the red zone. I think it's gonna change a ton. It's really gonna stop people from sitting in zones in the red zone.
Yeah.
I think especially on the goal line or in the 5, I think that's where the read option is really going to shine. Now, obviously, one of the things I struggle with is the alert ones, right? Where that's a play that's a design run and you just have the backside throw. You have to really think in your mind, yeah, this is an RPO, but it's supposed to be a 90% run. You know what I'm saying? You have to, if you treat it as a either or, I think you're kind of really going to get in trouble because it's really the only route you can throw it to. And all they have to do is jump it. They just use their backside defender, play the route, and then they let the rest of the team play the zone or play the run. So definitely going to be some learning curves. It's definitely going to make it. I feel it's going to be a little OP, but it's going to test the patience. What I do like is that I don't think you can hot route the plays in an RPO.
Well, yeah, and that's definitely going to be an equalizer because guys will get bored. A lot of people can't throw. So I didn't like the bubble screen one as much as I liked the slant. But I'm a big slant user because I'm a big sort of muscle memory guy when I play this game. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy for me to execute my offense and stuff when people aren't good at adapting to it. I can just sort of rely on the timing of things like that. So today I lost to the 49ers because he's really good at stopping the slant. And so multiple times, I think he caught me twice in a slant, and I made I think once I got sacked and once I threw a god-awful pick. so if you can't adjust to those slants, if you can't defend that slant, it's going to be really, really difficult to stop it, because I think that will then eventually be the one that is everyone's go-to. Like the bubble screen is cool, but that one's a lot easier to stop, I think, because
Really?
just because of the sheer nature of it takes a little bit longer to develop. Whereas if you try to jump the slant one, and you mistime it or misread it, it can split you down the middle pretty badly.
Really? I think it all depends on which one for the bubble screen, because I saw some of the bubble screens that really worked, and that seems to be a stop to people that are base aligning all the time. Like, oh, you know, if you're going to base align, now you're leaving a three-man formation against a safety in a corner, so it's an easy read to make that throw. And because of trajectories, and we'll get into that, I think it'll make it harder to pick off. And the blocking seems to be a little bit smarter. So at least from my initial reaction to running the bubble screen and having it run against me, like you either have to preemptively be there and jump it user-wise. And then, two, if you have a guy who sees that, maybe he doesn't throw the bubble screen, he just falls and just, you know, or tries to scramble with the quarterback. He'll see you jumping, and then he just knows, okay, I'll just run it, and now I just took one more player away from the run. Like, that's got to be the mindset. The downside of this, and you mentioned that, is like you're so used to your offense. These guys, most of the average user, I think, is going to come in. They're going to go, they see RPO, but in their mind, they're throwing a bubble screen. You know what I'm saying? They have it's going to shine for those that truly read it. The whole football concept behind the bubble screen there is, do I have numbers? If I have numbers, or they're off the line of scrimmage and I have blocking, then that's when I throw it. If I don't, then I have to take the run. If you get too antsy and you're like, oh, I'm going to throw it no matter what, then therein lies the issue. So,
and you mentioned that it'll help with the skill gap, but I think really what it will do is it will be just a variance in the skill gap. So it'll open the game up for guys that, because the point of the RPO in real life is to simplify the reads for the quarterback. It's either a run, or if a guy, you just read that guy. If he's open, you pass it. If he's not, you hand it off. So it's meant to simplify your reads, so you don't have to read an entire defense. You're just reading one or two players and judging what you're going to do based off of that in a split decision. So I think that really it can simplify it for guys that can focus on, it can condense the game for them. It can condense the entire field. So they're not trying to read safeties. They're not trying to read linebackers. They're just trying to, you know, it can be potentially an easy play for people to sort of learn the game of Madden a little bit, or jump in and, you know, have an offense that can be effective, rather than one that, you know, some guys can just shut a dude down just because the skill gap is too great. I feel like sometimes it might actually end up working in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I feel sometimes on CFMs, because of the nature of the rules of balancing your plays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of leagues have a lot of different rules against rushing quarterbacks. They feel a type of way about you running too much with your quarterback. I've always said it leads to cookie cutter offenses where everybody's basically just running the same offense, but it's just who can do it a little bit better than the others, who can make the better read. Whereas now, you seriously have to go, all right, dude, I'm playing a dude who's literally about to RPO me to death, and he has Russell Wilson this week. So, like, even on those throws, if nobody's there, he can just hit the left trigger, which I talked about by myself, but it was fantastic to be able to hit the left trigger or L2 with the quarterback and just be able to juke and move.
That was definitely pretty awesome.
It led to all right. So I was laughing because I was playing Mole, and I had the Ravens and I had Lamar, and there's just so many times where he would almost have me, and I would just like get out of there and be able to just run backwards 10 yards and throw it away or something. And I was laughing. It's like the ultimate bailout. But at the end of the day, like, that's Lamar. Like, he got me. I didn't make the throw wasn't that easy, or I struggled, but I have a 94 speed quarterback. I should feel like I have a 94 speed quarterback. And I was making some crazy plays, just hitting the left trigger and putting a juke or a spin on a D lineman that's way slower than me. And it was just like, even running the football with running backs, it just, when the D lineman, I didn't feel like I got, the suction tackles. I just felt like I was faster than the guy. Even though he was near me, I was about an arm length away. I still felt just able to move and kind of get away from that person. and it just felt so much cleaner. So that mechanic also helps. So I think you're right. Like those guys that struggle with being field general pocket passers, that they've had to do that in franchise in the past. No, they can develop a very run-heavy, RPO-heavy offense and use a bailout quarterback speed to help them out for those bad or tough decisions. And then you're going to see guys that truly shine under the other side, which is the elite quarterback. Go and playing as the Packers. Go playing as the I'm just kidding. The Cowboys don't have an elite quarterback. Go playing as the Tom Brady's, the Drew Brees, and going out there and being able to make a bunch of hot route changes. You have the 4 extra routes that you can make, and that seemed very fluid to me. I will say this. It is a little frustrating. I had Dorsett. I was playing as the Patriots. I had Dorsett one-on-one with a guy that Mole had shaded inside. Like, it was just the most easy streak I've ever seen. But because Tom has the special hot routes, I hot routed him to a post corner instead of a streak because they use the D-pad. So normally when you hot route, right, the left stick and the D-pad are together. They're one and the same. But when you have the extra, now the D-pad is a whole new set of – so that's something to remember. That's muscle memory that I'll have to kick in at some point. But then so there's going to have guys that excel there, and it's just going to be like really game planning from week to week on defense, which that's where I think the skill gap is really going to change. Is you can't just come in and base a line, cover 3, both safeties in the box, and get away with it. You're going to die by hot routes and RPOs and the most amazing thing, and I want to get your thoughts, is the trajectories, man. They've really felt – there's just so many throws that just were fantastic. It was just football. You're just out there slinging and playing football. That's – all right, I put Christian McCaffrey on a Texas route, and I have Greg Olsen on a post. So it's a high-low. I got one of them. He plays McCaffrey, and I felt so confident being able to throw the post and bullet throw the post. And it wasn't even close. The linebacker didn't stand a chance. And what were your experiences with trajectories? Were they much of the same, or?
Well, when I heard about that feature being added, I was pretty excited because that's always been kind of a struggle for me. I feel like it's either a bullet pass or a lob. I've actually been a big fan of the old double tap. So that being taken away is going to be somewhat of a adjustment for me, because I do love I feel like that's the only way to truly get touch under a pass. I didn't have a ton of success with it in the short little period of time that I was able to play. It did feel like a lot of things were still bullet passes. It felt like the bullet passes were good, though, that the windup was a little long, but it was actually a bullet to where I wanted it to be rather than a bullet right to, a defender or, overthrown bullet or something like that. So I'm excited to see where they go with them moving forward. I don't think that they're quite as tuned yet as they will be or can be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking forward to that just being something further added. I'd love to know more about the whole sort of mechanism that goes behind that, because it makes me wonder if they were able to do all of this in one offseason, why we haven't had trajectories adjusted a long time ago.
So something I want to point out is this is the first game under their new management, and I don't know how much of a difference that truly means. But remember last year, right? We had no news
Forever.
And then that was after the change was made, and now
so
they're ready to show this game. They're antsy to show
is that like a shot at Rex though? Like was it really Rex that was holding this game back? Because I felt like he was. I always kind of try to defend him, or not defend him, but I wasn't as quickly to just be like boo Rex, boo Rex. Like I felt like he was doing as good a job as he was allowed to do. Is he really to blame?
I don't think that's necessarily him to blame. For me, it's just like I don't know who the shot callers are. I don't know who the shot callers are.
It's funny because before it was like Rex front and center. Like this is the guy to throw tomatoes at when you're pissed off at the game. Like this is the guy. And now it's kind of like this shady EA figure that nobody really truly knows. It's almost like they're trying to shield him from that.
Right.
Him or her, I guess, or them.
Yeah, there is that person isn't the front. They're using all the other devs, Mole, they're using Clint Oldenburg, they're using equipment season. And to be honest with you, I'm not against that. They're the dudes that put the hard work into the game.
I mean, dude, the internet is vicious, man. Like
Like
you need to protect people that are in important roles like that, because like that stuff will get to you, and you've got a job to do. You don't need to be focusing about Twitter trolls and people in YouTube comments and stuff like that. So I'm on board. I'm just trying to figure out, was it really Rex that was holding this back after all?
I
Were the
don't know.
Twitter trolls right, or
Right. It was under his tutelage that the game went to shit. And that I don't know who to blame. Obviously, he's the easy scapegoat.
Yeah.
But obviously, EA heard, and they made a lot of changes in gameplay this year. That, I mean, seriously, the pump fake is fantastic. Dude.
Oh my god! Once I got used to that, like once I realized I was like, oh, I can't double tap. Like that was an awesome feature, because it actually is something that you can use to take out a defender, which is pretty cool.
And then you get a dude like that is expecting that pump fake to come. Like I was playing my buddy Warren, and he didn't bite on it, and I pump faked the zig to hit the dig late in the route, and he jumped it. And I have to you have to think like, all right, cool. If I pump fake, I can still go back to that route still. Like even pump faking might allow him to and then feel like he has to get back into depth because there's another route open, and I just go right back to the zig or the dig or the post or whatever I'm throwing the pump fake to. It felt so clean. It just felt, yeah, dude. And the reticle showing up was nice, a nice touch to really force and fake out the user defenders, the passes. Now, one of the big chief complaints was that I saw was people talking about pass rush coming in. And I think that's a matter of, one, getting used to, like you mentioned before, right, the throw mechanics take longer. They actually dropped an article today. They were talking about how a short pass squared up to the quarterback is going to be the fastest pass in the game. If a right-handed quarterback is throwing to his left, there has to be a footwork set, so it's going to take a little bit longer. And if it's a long pass to the far side of the field for the quarterback's throwing arm, then that's going to be the longest pass that it takes. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I guess they're tied to where you're making the throw to, how far the throw is, that the mechanics are. But another thing to remember is, in the past, if you wanted to throw a seam, right, then you had to make sure that seam cleared the linebackers and were like literally between cover two safeties. You know what I'm saying? Like you had to throw it after it cleared, because if you threw that ball while they were level, it's a pick. It's a pick every single time. So in your mind, when you snap the ball, you're not throwing it until the seam is like between the safeties, 15, 20 yards downfield. But with trajectories now, you can throw it when they're even. You know what I'm saying? And it will work. And that's just, you just have to look at it. And like there was just so many throws where I was like, oh, that's a pick. And it was just a dot right into the, and then you get the little symbol that says out of reach for the linebacker. That's perfect. Great. Now, once we get used to that, I don't think pass rush will be an issue. Outside of the elite dudes that will absolutely rip you to shreds. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I liked the pass rush. I was down for it. I also, I like to play with the Cowboys, so I have a decent offensive line. So maybe I wasn't quite getting the full effect that everybody else was based on the unit that I was playing with. But I always play as if I'm going to be under pressure immediately. Like I try, and so sometimes to my disadvantage, I'll have like a lot of sort of ghost pressure force me into making a bad read or throwing into pressure rather than actually just letting the play develop, because I'll look back at the stream. I always like to have the stream up on my computer so I can glance back and kind of review my film or whatever right after the play happens. And I'll like put the Elgato software on like a 30-second delay so I can actually go back and watch it. And I'll be like, okay, I need to chill the fuck out because this guy's not actually getting pressure on me. I'm just spazzing out and getting happy feet here. So I like the pass rush because there's so many times, like I feel like I'm a decent user linebacker, but there's so many times that I'm like, oh my God, how long do I have to cover this guy before the rush gets there? And sometimes they just won't. Sometimes they just will never get there. So I can appreciate a little bit more pass rush. I'm sure that that's one of the things that they will sort of scale back a little bit, because I just kind of feel like they're a little soft and they eventually give in to the masses, and people that are not good at making reads or adjusting are going to whine and bitch and moan about not being able to move the ball effectively.
Right. Can you hear me now, by the way? I know you mentioned the mic was a weird thing.
Yeah, it's good. It was just get a little scratchy here and there.
Yeah, I changed back to the headset mic. One of the things I also noticed, and playing the online franchise means we got to play all Madden Sim versus all pro competitive. And what I noticed was like cover two safeties weren't playing. Like the non-elite guys didn't have the range that the elite guys had. Back there playing the Ravens, I didn't stand a chance throwing to the sideline against Earl Thomas's cover two. But there was a couple times where I had an outside guy to the sideline, an inside guy running a streak or a seam or whatever, and I was able to get that football over to the sideline without the cover two guy just jumping it. And I feel like in the past, like they always jump that sideline ball, and that's like one of the open spots of cover two is right when the corner drops back to the flat and you hit them in that little area. But that's just been impossible because either the safety makes the play on it because you threw it too late, or the cornerback goes and grabs it because he just jumps up and makes an incredible play. But now with the trajectories, I feel like it's a better read. It's an easier read now, so I'm excited about that. The SWAT animations, did you see those? Did you see some of the one-on-one playing the ball animations that occurred at all? They seem so
Um,
clean, dude. They looked really organic. They didn't look like we were stuck in an
yeah.
animation.
But how
Um,
long will they look organic for? Like
right, right.
that's
They're different, and that's the thing.
yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. But you hit the SWAT, and it just there were some plays that it just made sense to SWAT, or like they would meet there, like you would. The guy wouldn't be in position to make the pick. So instead of getting a glitchy pick animation, he got a good swat or a hit and then knocked the ball out. Like it just felt like there were less picks in the game
Yeah.
on one-on-one balls. It looked like there was a lot of situations where you overthrew it a little bit, or the ball does get tipped, but it falls to the ground. He knocks the ball out. There wasn't a lot of stuff where the ball is getting popped up 18 feet in the air and somebody goes and grabs it, things like that. So it looked really good, and fluid in the passing game. Really, that was it. The run game looked like it looked solid. I mean, obviously, all the different traits now to running backs that make the spin better, make the juking better, make the elusiveness better. The stiff arm is back. Did you see that?
I did,
Uh,
yes. And the spin move is gone. So that's another adjustment that I
well, gone to everybody. What if you had that spin trait? Then I could see the spin
well,
move
okay.
being as
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
OP, but that's only for star guys. But you're right. Um, there's some sick animations with like Alvin Kamara and David Johnson, like this little duck under juke. Um, the running, they have like LaShawn McCoy holding the ball out running. So like I really like what they did. They not only did it with the quarterbacks, but also some of the way the guys run with the football. They have those. Those look great. God, that stiff arm being hurdles now cause fumbles in some scenarios, whereas
I
last year,
feel like I'm going to need to play with different teams this year for the first time. Whereas I always kind of just stick to my team. I just play with the Cowboys because they're my favorite team. But it seems like this year the players are actually different. Like you
dude,
can actually do different things with different guys based on who they are. Like I feel like right now, if you just get an elite player, you can pretty much. In the past, you've always been able to just pretty much do whatever everybody else does based on just developing a guy. Like I could develop a big, powerful running back to be fast and agile, and I can make spin moves and juke moves like the best of
right,
them. But now it's a little bit different.
right, like literally having a guy like McCaffrey or
Yeah,
Kamara that you can hot
exactly.
route 4 new routes to just
Yep.
changes once again. It just changes the whole game for you. And then when he's out, you know he's out because you're like, oh, I really want to do this Texas route or this flat route or whatever, and they all look the same up until the cut. Well, now you can't do those because it says backup. That's it. So now you're limited. So now you may have to take the timeout to get McCaffrey back into the game or Kamara back into the game. Or and now I guess we'll flow into some. We'll talk into some of the abilities. Like Cam Newton. So Carolina has been my eye. Has had my eye for my Xbox League. I'm pretty much guaranteed going to Detroit for the PML League. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, I've never had my team in a CFM, and I think with the content driven that PML is, little ad here, with how much Premier Madden focuses on content, I think a rebuild will get more attention article wise than if I was doing, if I was taking the Chiefs again, like, all right,
Yeah.
cool, dude, you get those streaks to Tyreek, great. But with the Lions, I think it'll be a journey and it'll be fun. So, but Carolina's had my eye, and Cam's zone ability is, I think it's called Freight Train, but it's like it basically guarantees the first tackle gets broken. And dude, It's insane, bro. It's insane what you can do with Cam Newton, knowing that the first tackle is going to be shit like dominated, and he jukes
That's only
it.
like when he's in the zone, though, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's his zone ability, and to get it, you have to have 3 runs for 10 yards or more in a game. And
Yeah, that's
dude,
pretty simple.
yeah, well, I will say it's easier than it's harder than you think because you always end up in those 7, 8 yard runs versus like huge 10 yard runs. Um, but dude, like it's just it's so ridiculous, and you feel it. Like I was playing Mole, and Mole was playing with the Steelers, and he was little. So Big Ben's zone ability is so one, he has Homer, which means when he's at home, he gets his zone ability quicker, which is great. I think that's solid. It's a little
Yeah.
advantage there. Same for like Drew Brees and Domes. I think he has that. But anyways, his zone ability is whenever a receiver is open on a play, it'll flash their symbol, like it'll highlight their symbol when he's open. And obviously, like with the way the AI works and reads what's open, like how much could a user linebacker affect that? How useful was it truly against the user linebacker roaming? Because as we know, what open isn't truly open against a user linebacker. He went into the zone just after the start of the second quarter, and he didn't miss a fucking throw until like the middle of the fourth, dude. It like Mole right there was like, I don't really know how good this is going to be. I'm pretty skeptical of it. And by the end, Mole was like, oh, this is really good. Like, there's just so many times, like late in the play, he could, you can't see the whole field, and then like a late hitch pops open or something, and it just and it's just so it's like having the game tell you what's open just makes that player that much easy, more productive and easier, and it really stood out to me for Big Ben, and I think Tom Brady has that as well. So I'm excited for that. Did you notice any of the other zone abilities, or were you paying attention much to those?
Um, I can't say I was paying too much attention to those. I was more focused on, am I going to have to learn how to play as a safety? Did they really take away the ability to play middle linebacker? And I came away kind of thinking that yes and no. That there are certain instances where I still made a couple of user interceptions, but those deep over the middle ones are gone.
Right. You have to stick them. You have to stick
Yeah.
on them, and it doesn't mean the users are gone now. It just means that you're going to have to learn to give up 5 yards on the
Yep.
end cut. You can't just bite to the end and then make your way back to the post. You're just going to have
So
to live with the post or the dig or the in or the little check down and make sure you tackle well.
yeah, and my move has always been I'm faking the blitz and then I spin out and I cover your tight end again, or the deep middle in a cover
Right.
two or something like that. That's probably been my most successful way to get lurks ever, and that does not feel like it exists anymore because you can't play that shallow anymore. You have to be, because of the trajectories, and it felt like it was partially the trajectory, but partially like cement in my linebackers' shoes. Like they just don't get up like they did before, which is fine. Like I'm okay with that because it has been a little bit NFL blitz like ever since they introduced ball hawk.
Right. And there is going to be what I spoke with Mole about was obviously having safeties and DBs playing linebacker and sub linebacker if your league allows that. What's the penalty in the run defense? And he said it was going to be pretty significant. Their goal was if you do bring in safeties to help with pass coverage as linebackers and nickel and whatever, you're gonna pay the price in your run defense. And what I would like to see, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I would like to see awareness kind of matter a lot within RPOs. More
Yeah.
so for me, like positional awareness. Maybe that's not implemented yet, but on both sides. Like one, I want offensive lineman awareness to matter in RPOs. That way, if I have a low awareness guy on the line and I'm trying to run these like really quick RPOs, that guy isn't gonna, what I'm saying, he'll commit a penalty quicker than say another lineman who understands like I shouldn't be getting more than a yard upfield here. on this run block or whatever the case may be. And then on the flip side, if I put a safety that's played safety at middle linebacker to help with the pass, maybe his awareness drops and he struggles in RPOs. He blitzes more often, or he bites to the run or whatever. Maybe there's a tendency. I'd like to see that. Maybe it's just programmed in. But yeah, definitely looks like there's going to be like a little bit of a loss of ability when you do those. I wanted to go over some of these zone and these guys that maybe you didn't expect to be X Factor, did expect to be X Factor, and some of their zone abilities and stuff like that. They're pretty cool. The one I'm seeing the most in the run game is this zone ability called First One Free. I know Zeke has it, Gurley has it, Barkley has it. Melvin Gordon, I was a little surprised that Melvin Gordon was an X Factor running back. I personally don't feel.
Oh, put some respect on his name, dude. That boy is nice.
I mean, I'm not saying he's
injury prone. Like, that's his biggest issue. He's too injury. He's a little bit soft. But
right,
that's damn good running back, man.
So I like him. Listen. He's a talented running back. He's broken 1,000 yards once, dude. Once.
I don't care, man. It's because of injury, though. The skill. I don't care about his overall season.
I get that. I get that. But David Johnson doesn't have it. You feel me?
Well, and that's now
we're talking. You know what I'm saying? Now we're in the snub thing, right? Melvin Gordon is nice, and I have no issue with him being. I had no issue with Melvin Gordon being superstar with a good potential to reach X Factor abilities if you play well with him in your franchise. But Melvin Gordon is not a top 5 running back in this league at all. And
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that at all. Bro, I think he's probably 4 or 5. But I could easily make an argument for him that he's top 5. Inability, he's top 5.
Inability is a very different thing. Like, there's a lot of.
But I would say that David Johnson is too. I mean,
I would say David Johnson is clearly up there. There was a time where he was considered top 2, top 3 in the league. I mean, you have Le'Veon, you have Gurley, you have Zeke, you have Kamara, you have McCaffrey. These guys are putting up insane years. I mean, you have Barkley, who has a candidacy for coming in and already being a top 5 back in the league. Is Melvin Gordon somewhere in the back end of that list? Quite possibly. That's why I would personally have given him superstar.
Yeah.
Give him some traits. Give him the ability. So, like, some of
this stuff is cool and all, but I want to know, how is this going to affect CFMs? Are we going to be able to draft dudes that get these traits? Like,
so this is how
realistic. Is it going to be? Is it going to just encourage more and more people to spam certain players to stat pad them? Like,
right?
How's this all going to work?
So the way it's working now, and I spoke with Dustin, Equipment Guru, a little bit about this the other day in the DMs. He didn't give me too much info, but
such a plug right now, dude.
Huh?
You're just such a little Madden whore right now. You just know in the ear of all the right guys.
Bro, I will name drop. Even though I hit his DMs like, hey, dude, I put in a code and it didn't work because I got banned off PlayStation put codes for PlayStation for 24 hours. Do you have a code for me? And he said no. So he's not my friend anymore. But nice. Either way, this is my understanding with X Factor and drafted players in franchise. So you draft a player, if they are in the Superstar or Superstar X Factor rating, then they are their trait is hidden. So you know if it's Superstar, you know it's Superstar higher, but you don't know if it's X Factor or not. So that's what you will know when you draft a player instantly. After 500 snaps, it will reveal. Now, what I have not been told is how much those 500 snaps matter to their ability, right? But I do know you are not going to be able to use those players' abilities until after his dev trait's revealed. You feel me? It's not like that whole time you're playing, he's going to have his traits. You just won't know. No, like they're going to be completely hidden. He's going to be a normal player for his first 500 snaps. After that, it gets revealed that if he's X Factor and he has a zone ability, or if he's just a superstar and what his superstar abilities are. If he is a superstar, then what will happen is they have you whenever you unlock with your skill points, you can unlock superstar trait slots. Does that make sense?
So they can have more than one. They can have a bunch of them. I mean, Brady's got like damn near 10. You can get a bunch of them, and then once you reach a certain overall, you can earn that trait, as what was explained to me. And then if they have a zone ability, if they are X Factor, then they'll have that zone ability, and that's tied to their archetype. But here's my question. I asked Equipment Season. I asked Dustin. He said he doesn't know. So say I draft a scrambler, right? And he's got like crazy speed. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got crazy speed. He's got a hidden dev trait. But he's kind of got a weak arm, right? Or he's got an average arm. Let's say he has an average arm. He's a scrambler archetype. So the zone ability tied to him is going to be the one for scrambling quarterbacks, right? Probably the one that Russell Wilson has, which is it like notifies you that blitzers are coming. There's an exclamation point that goes over blitzing players. It's pretty cool. So that's probably for the scramblers. So theoretically, in that first 500 snaps, what if I dev only his like strong arm quarterback trait to where that's his archetype now at the time that he gets his zone trait unlocked? Will that change it, was what somebody was asking. So I draft the scrambler, I dev him in those first 500 snaps to be a strong arm quarterback. Then when he gets his zone ability, which one does he get? Does he get the one for his current archetype, which is strong arm, or does he get the one for his drafted archetype, the scrambler? Because then you can start affecting it. And now I have bazooka on a 90 speed quarterback, and I had the bazooka one, which is Patrick Mahomes, which is throw the ball 80 yards. So what was that? I think personally it's going to be tied to their archetype. And then I think that the 500 snaps will not matter. I think the whole point is if it's the risk of starting the rookie, right, is you're not going to find out for 500 snaps if he's got it. So it's on you. You're going to have to play with a rookie, a developing rookie that has to learn the game, so he doesn't have all of his abilities unlocked yet for 500 snaps. And then after 500 snaps, it's been determined that like he's got it figured out. He's kind of breaking out as a star, and then bam, he has this quote unquote breakthrough. It could matter. I hope it doesn't matter for the sake of like franchise cheesing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Like I also want a guy like I want to be able to, because look at this whole thing may have or may not have been based around Patrick Mahomes. Either or, he's the guy that's kind of the headliner of this, right? He sat for a year. I want to be able to potentially sit a rookie, have him come in and have him be able to reach that status and not have his rookie year matter quite as much as it does in Madden. Like I want to be able to play and like acquire talent and let it sit and develop it for a year and then play with it. Like I hate that I have to play a rookie year one or they're basically irrelevant.
Well, think about it, right? Think about it because they don't have their traits, right? That they theoretically would. So this is how my mindset works in your picture, right? Is I draft this quarterback, okay, and he has a hidden trait. It is already determined at the time that you've drafted him whether he's X Factor or not. That's what my mind thinks. It's determined. There's nothing you can do.
But see, what about in our we're probably going to use custom draft classes next year.
That's a different ballgame. That's a different ballgame. We got to get to that in a second. That's a whole different thing, and it might change the game a little bit. But so in this scenario, it doesn't matter. But when you play with that player in their snaps, those 500 snaps, they don't have those abilities. So it is in turn almost hurting your offense to play the rookie, right? He's not ready. He's not going to be ready to lead the team with his full abilities because he's a rookie in the NFL. He shouldn't be able to just step in day one and be fully accustomed. So you're right. So by starting him day one, you are hurting your team essentially because you don't have the quote unquote maybe the best quarterback on the field, right? Yeah. Whereas maybe you're benching Dak for him when in reality,
I've got the perfect situation in our league right now with the Joey Gatewood, 6'5", 255 quarterback, star development, 22 years old, 95 throw power, 85 speed, 87 excel. Like all signs to me in any other year, if this was not our final year, I would be benching Dak right now to start this guy. because the ceiling for him is sky high due to the size, the arm strength, the speed, everything. But he's got all the traits that I want. But because it's because it's not we're not playing anymore after this year, it doesn't make any sense because there's no way that he's still going to be a rookie at the end of the year. He's still going to make those stupid Madden rookie plays.
Right.
So therefore, it doesn't make any sense. But
here's
I want
here's my
that
thing,
in the
right?
future to work.
Is you could, in this scenario, you could play the rookie. After 500 snaps, he gets maybe his zone factor, and now you're balling. Now you have a stud rookie that you've worked with. He's kind of filling the groove out, and then you just have to make up for if you had any lost games because of rookie mistakes in the beginning. That's more sim now. It doesn't mean you will make mistakes. It's just you won't have the zone and the abilities to help you out with that quarterback. Then you figure it out. So that's the one scenario. And then you also could contend for Rookie of the Year. So that's the payoff for starting him the whole year, right? Is he had the Rookie of the Year, and maybe that'll help with his development a little bit. While also developing him with the week. Or second scenario now is you keep Dak and then you play the rookie in. It encourages you when you're up in big games or even when you're losing in bad games to play the rookie some snaps. That way, your offense is still working under your star quarterback, but you can get maybe 300, 400 snaps out of the way throughout the season. Maybe that's a little generous. But
yeah,
I'd have to look.
I mean, that's a lot of snaps. That's a good portion of the season.
Right. But what about preseason? So this is going to encourage you to play preseason with those guys, and those will help. So the preseason is going to matter, and then those other things. So now you sit your guy for a year, you dev him every week, you play him in the preseason, you play him when you can, and then when he gets to finally start is after he already has all of his abilities. So you're not really hurting the production of your team because the whole time you had the other quarterback that's a little bit more developed. Now it creates unique scenarios, I think, because I've always complained about two things. One, how easy it is for developing players. Like knowing that you have a star day one seems weird to me. The whole league knowing that you have a star day one is weird to me.
Yeah.
And then two is players coming in and being stuck at 80 overall. Saquon came in the NFL in real life and day one played like a top 5 running back. Go back and see that run against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was stupid. There was no room. Breaks to the outside, makes an incredible play to save out. You know what I'm saying? Day one was a stud. He was day one playing like what I would put as a 92 overall running back in the NFL. But in Madden, he's an 80. And the only thing that helps him is his dev trait. Now these abilities allow that to happen. After 500 snaps, which once again, including preseason, might be around week 5, week 6. I don't know how many snaps we're playing a game. I mean, let's see. If you run 20 times and you pass 25 times, right? Shit, we're going to math this up. I think that's pretty fair, right? You got 20 running plays in a game. Then you got 25 passing plays in a game. That's 45. 4 preseason games, we're at 180. Another 4. 180 times 2. 360. So by week 4, we've played 360 snaps on that average, right? So that's not that much longer. Week 6, you should be able to have 500 snaps with that player being in on every offensive snap. And then now all of a sudden, he's playing like a star player because he has these superstar zone abilities and stuff. That's what I like. Now we're in this scenario where rookies could come in and dominate if they truly are X factor players.
So I think that they did somewhat adapt this in, and this was a thing I noticed. I ran through a CFM pretty much an entire season the first day I got it, and morale, which replaced confidence, which is something you got for playing well or for the text messages with your coordinators if you pick the right one or whatever. It would give you a boost in morale for a specific unit based on what you picked and how you performed that week. So I think that what that will be is the morale basically boosts your overall and boosts your stats per position, but doesn't really impact your main overall. So if you're playing really well and having a great season, you are basically, so using your example, Saquon, he would have jumped up, his morale would have jumped up really, really quickly. Morale might not be the best name, whatever. Confidence, morale, it doesn't matter. Your overall boost, your for performing well can go up. But at the end of the offseason, everybody kind of does reset to a sort of neutral number that you've sort of developed. It's almost like the overall is now your clout number, and your true, performance abilities are based on the overall and the morale sort of combined and working together to represent how you're performing on the field at any given time. But does that mean now that one guy is going to take over, the first 4 weeks of the season, have a 99 overall quarterback that can just run circles around everybody? I mean, we'll find out, I guess. But I kind of like that. I like where you were going with that it is kind of weird that you can jump in, start a development guy. He'll be a 99 overall at the end of the season or whatever if he plays well. But yet then you got guys that are playing well. Like by Madden's standards, if real life happened in Madden, Patrick Mahomes would be an 82 overall quarterback. Like, that's just the way it would be. He would have had a great season in his sophomore year, but he would have missed all of that rookie bonus. He wouldn't have gotten that development boost from his rookie season. So he'd be an 82 overall quarterback, and he might be looking at 85 if he continued to play well the following season. Like, that's just the way that this game is set up right now. So I really hope that they're I think that what's not to name drop, but the Swami guy that is actually working for them. The guy that ran the Franchise Nation YouTube channel for a while. He is, I think, probably doing a lot of work behind the scenes for us CFM guys. Problem is, we are kind of, I don't know if we're a rare breed or if we're just not the loudest voice, but the 32-man CFM voice is very, very muted still. And a lot of the things that they've done and tweaked don't seem like they're for us at all. They're for the guys that are just playing by themselves. Right. I don't know how you feel, but it kind of, and playing through it, playing through a CFM on the first day, I kind of felt that way still. Like, man, this stuff would all be really cool if I was just playing by myself, but I'm going to be playing against.
They said they didn't in the beta. They may not have put in all the franchise features, just like they didn't put in any of the rookie ratings.
Yeah, I get that, but
so I don't know how much it's going to really change. I'm pretty optimistic for it.
Everything else is really good. Like, I'm really a fan of the way that the game felt and played and stuff like that, but I feel like us 32-man CFM guys who are, let's be honest, we're the only ones playing Madden 19 still right now. Like,
right.
There's a couple of my players still trickling along and stuff, but as far as
crazy. Like they're releasing like crazy cards for MUT right now, and I really cannot believe people are still buying it.
That's wild.
And they had the whole EA thing about, I guess they're in review for court or Congress or whatever. Something's going on with loot boxes, and they called them surprise mechanics. I don't want to get too much into that. I had a thought.
That was in Europe, man. Yeah, they basically Europe's like, fuck you, you American company sitting over here stealing our money from our 12-year-old boys. Like,
right.
This is gambling, and it is. It's gambling, and it's super addictive, and that's probably why those guys are still playing. We as CFM guys are playing just because we enjoy the game, the sport really more than the game itself, and then like the process of developing. Like I got psyched about a star development quarterback that I'm not even going to use in a final season because we have a problem.
Yeah, why not using him? Why you're not using him is beyond me. But you mentioned like how could
I got Dak at 92, man. Dak's at 92. He's got back-to-back
just throw deep balls and call it a day, dude.
Fuck that. That's not my game, though,
well, you
man.
better win. All right, I guess you better win your last one with Dak because it's going to be all Stafford next Madden.
It is.
So you ain't got nothing to worry about.
2019, best quarterback. 2020, best quarterback. 5 Pro Bowl appearances. Let's go.
Oh, in the NFC. In the NFC.
Okay. Oh, okay. And a Super Bowl ring. Fuck that. Let me check my man's legacy score real quick.
Legacy score. You might be the only person in the world that gives a shit about legacy score.
I mean, I really don't. But
you and Natural will probably be the only two people I've ever met that I give a shit. But
I feel like I see it all the time. Here we go. 4,640. I don't even know if that's a lot or a little.
Right? Yeah. Like, what does that number mean to me? Like, thanks. 4,000. That's just like that means more to me than less to me than the PFF grades that people get. You know? Yeah, man, he got a 182.4 elusiveness rating. And I'm like, and that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
So anyways, you mentioned the 32-man leagues, right? And how the draft classes may go because PML, we do the custom draft classes that JT makes. And this is where This is what I wish would happen theoretically. To aid, once again, you made a great point. This all affects offline players that much better because they're not worried about so much the fairness of the full league. You're worried about the fairness of the player. I can go grab I can go grab an online draft class, not know who's what, and just draft and then get the X factors based on whoever made the draft class. But at the end of the day, for JT, he makes a draft class. Whoever else is helping him make it has an advantage. What I wish would happen is you can grab a player and, well, he might do what he did right before, which was the dev trait calculator.
Yes.
I don't hate that. With the superstar traits, that's another thing. This isn't like the last nines where it's like this either you're superstar dev or superstar dev and that's how much XP you get. Like now, like we're talking about traits that you may have day one versus traits that you may earn and how those go about. That might be an issue. Now I know that the traits once again are all tied to your archetype. At least the zone abilities are. I don't know if like the superstar traits are or if anybody can gain those in any capacity. Like in the running back ones, there's some cool ones. There's like pin and pull that Melvin Gordon has where on tosses and outside runs, he gets better blocking versus guys that have the inside zone one. So on inside zone runs, they get better blocking. That's pretty cool and effective. But how does that get determined? I'll say I trust JT to be smart about it and come up with a good plan. There's plenty of time. Most leagues don't start till the week 1 of the NFL anyways. So those rosters come out. So there's plenty of time to lab and figure it out.
Yeah.
I think your best bet, though, is going to be normal draft classes that the game produces. It sucks for the quote-unquote realism portion, but from fairness to the league, the true randomness of whether or not a player got the X factor or not, I think that's more important to me than having the real names of players. I've never really been too concerned.
That's such a struggle for me, man, because I love the real player names, and I'm not a huge fan of the randomness of the development tool. I feel like I figured it out and I was able to abuse it. The 3 guys that I wanted to get one from this draft class all got one. So it's kind of hard for me to be on board with that as much, especially when there's something that could be as game changing as, a superstar X factor trait. Like,
right. And they are game changing.
Exactly. So like you're talking about a player that's just going to like completely is going to be your entire team. Like you're talking about a generational talent instead of just a generation, like a high level of development trait. Like you're talking about a guy that will literally change the way that the game processes your abilities as a player. Like you'll be able to do things that you shouldn't be able to do based on the skills of this one player. So it's kind of like, how do you can't have that be random anymore. You can't have that be manufactured by us. Like that's got to be something that nobody knows going into the game. I don't know. It's tough, man, because I really like the real player names, but I don't want Joe Schmo getting a guy by chance. I don't know. It's hard. It's gonna be tough. We're definitely gonna have to lab a lot to figure this out.
Once again, I trust them to make the right decision. It's just weird. My favorite thing to do, and what I think is best from a CFM perspective, when it comes to custom draft classes, is not so much because the issue we ran into, not so much an issue, but like the first draft class of all the current college seniors and juniors, that's fine, right? That normally goes well. We know who the talented guys are, and we know who the not so talented guys are, and whatever the case, at least the middle of the pack. And he uses obviously the NCAA simulations to help out, so we don't have to like look at real life versions. You still get to look at the animated version, so we get a better picture of like who's really good or not because you see the awards, you see the stats and stuff like that. But it's like the second and the third and the fourth season, those draft classes are just way too predictive and kind of random. Once again, even though it's using the tool, it's just hard to get immersive with because you won't even know the players that much unless you like really, really follow college or even how we got into it, almost high school football. So what I've always liked is the idea that you just play with regular rosters, regular draft classes, And then when your league starts to kind of die out a little bit around draft time, because that's normally around the time that everybody's like ready for the next cycle or whatever the case may be, that's when I think you need to do a reboot. And what you do is you could start a franchise after the in real life Super Bowl, right? You could do that for every single week during the season. Madden implemented that. It's week 8. It'll start you right at week 8 with the exact stats the NFL has to that point. You could do that up to the Super Bowl. So I would do that up to the Super Bowl, simulate the Super Bowl with a forced win to the team that won it in real life, and then go into the off season. And then that's when everybody picks up their teams. You know what the draft order is because of the previous season before. So you pick your teams that way. You do free agency, and then you do the in real life draft with the incoming in real life draft class. So all of the mocks, all of the draft things that have been updated to that point look better because this is around the time of the year that everybody's making them, and you have the real life combine has happened, so you get the real speeds of the players versus like your DK Metcalf, which was what, like an 81 speed or something, right?
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Versus the 94, 95 he's going to have in real life. So you get those, and then when you draft it, and you don't have to do the real life draft. You don't have to do what happens in the real life draft. You just do what you would draft if you were the Browns that won. So now, in the past, when people do reboots and introduce those in like previous Maddens, it was week 1 of 2019 or 2018. So you had the incoming rookie, like say on the Browns, I'd have the incoming Baker Mayfield, and then I would have another whole rookie class coming in at the same time as the Baker Mayfield. That didn't make sense. Now with this starting after the Super Bowls happen and simulating to the offseason, now it logically takes place the following year. That's what I've always liked in terms of doing this. I do that with my offline stuff. Is once I get bored, I just simulate up to the Super Bowl, pick the team that's got like the first or second pick, and then rebuild there with the incoming draft class. That's where the custom draft classes is fun to me. For a 32-man league instead of trying to do what we were doing. I don't hate it. I don't think it's the worst thing, but I think you're right. It presents new challenges. And I actually had my buddy Pest on from my Xbox league last time, and we talked a little bit about like how to plan your CFM and make it work the best. You know, some big no-nos like fantasy drafts. Never do a fantasy draft. That's never going to work for your franchise.
No, they're so much fun, but yeah, they do fall apart so quickly. And even this year too, like a fantasy draft, dudes just load up on zone players. There are a couple dudes I have to point out for being snubbed. I already pointed out one Arizona Cardinal, David Johnson. Another, Pat Pete doesn't have X Factor. He's kind of always been a little bit overrated, though.
Overrated?
A little bit, man. Dude, he's good. He's good, but he's a little bit one-dimensional. I don't know. Dude. He's one of the best athletes in the league. I think, though, that his name and whatnot carries more weight than he performs.
Down.
He's
when
not.
Was the last time you saw Patrick Peterson get beat?
I mean, when was the last time Arizona Cardinals game was even important or mattered?
Right. Now that's the key. Is it doesn't. The Cardinals just aren't a major market team, so I could see why he got snubbed, but there isn't a reason because there's a character who does have X Factor who's going to give Equipment Season a lot of trouble on his Twitter is Byron Jones. And Byron Jones is a monster.
He's not a monster. He had one good season.
He's a monster of an athlete. But he is not a top 5 cornerback.
You know what? When I saw that, I was like, that's pretty awesome. Like I'm totally on board with that as a Cowboys owner, but he does not deserve that in any way, shape, or form based off of one season at cornerback like that. Like
versus Pat Pete, who even if you say he's overrated, that's because people will tell you he's the best in the league.
What?
Okay. I bet you right now we could drop in the chat and there would be easily people that say Pat Pete's best in the league or at a minimum top 3 in the league.
No, I still think that Jalen Ramsey's the best corner right now. I think he had a really down year after he talked way too much. He's been pretty quiet this year. I think you'll see a bounce back. I think Ramsey's a special athlete. Well, I mean, so is Pat Pete, but I think that
I don't know. I think once again, it's all scenario based, right? In some scenarios, I'm going to take Jalen Ramsey. in run defense, I'm taking Jalen Ramsey. In zone, I'm taking Jalen Ramsey. And
Okay.
man, though,
Man is the only place you could probably say he's better, and even then, I'm not.
then Pat Pete's better. Pat Pete
Yeah.
is the best man corner in the NFL.
Okay. I'll probably give you
To
that.
me,
I'll probably
he
give
is
you
the
that.
best man corner in the NFL. I can think of two that are on the same level. That's Jalen, and that's Chris Harris Jr. Those are the only two corners that, in my mind, that I think are on the same level in man coverage, and both of the other two are X factor. So that's now obviously I have my qualms.
That is weird that they disrespected two Cardinals like that are probably clearly top 5. I mean, he's definitely a good corner. Don't get me wrong. I just think that when people say he's the best and all, it's like no. He's very one dimensional. Like you can only play him in a specific scheme, and when he's had sort of lulls in his career, I feel like it's because hasn't been used properly, and therefore his deficiencies are exposed a little bit more.
Now he did struggle 1 year, then found out he had diabetes. So
yes, that's right. That is right.
I don't know how much that has weighed in on the overall view of him. I haven't seen a situation where Pat Pete truly gets roasted in a long, long time. The last time I saw him get a touchdown caught on him was Marvin Jones, and that was because the play lasted 9 seconds. You know what I'm saying? And no matter how good you are, that's just not going to happen. But like Sherman has X factor. Byron Jones has X factor. I think Casey Hayward has X factor. I don't know, but I think Casey Hayward does. Ramsey does.
Damn, I feel like they give Richard Sherman. They give Richard Sherman that because they're afraid of the backlash of him on Twitter because he definitely did not have a great season last year. I mean, he was decent, but like he's getting old. Like he's falling off. Like there's no reason for him to be considered in that upper echelon anymore just because he's paid like it. Because he's clearly not the same guy.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch a lot of Niners film, so I can't tell you what I think about Richard Sherman in terms of if he still has it or not. Because I didn't watch a lot of Niners football. They had a down year. But Pat Pete was a big heart. Darius Slay doesn't have it. He doesn't have it factor. But he is superstar.
So did they give everybody like a certain number? Does everybody have one at least?
No. The Lions do not have an X Factor player.
See, now, if you're reaching for guys, like, you might as well give a guy like Darius Slay that. I mean, the dude's nickname is fucking Big Play. Like, just give him that. If there's nobody else on the roster, like, that's just trash. Like, everybody should have at least one. Because everybody has one best player on their team. And that guy, regardless of who they are or what team they're on right now, like, the best player on your team should be considered your X Factor guy because that's just what they are. They're the best player on your team for a reason.
Now, I think that might apply to superstar. Like these play, like Slay and Snacks Harrison on the Lions do have superstar, so I'll give them that. But I think, and I don't think the Bills have one, and I don't think the Dolphins have one.
The Bills roster is pretty trash.
Right. But I don't. I think the superstar goes to the top players for sure. The X factor in their mind was guys across the top 50 across the league. I don't know why you're limiting at 50. Like, it seems weird. It just
wait. They limited it to 50.
There's 50. There's only 50 in the game. For example, this is what was told to me. Tyreek Hill had X factor, but then he doesn't because of what happened, which to me doesn't make sense. If what he did hurts, and obviously that's a marketing thing in their mind. X Factor is a marketing
point. I'm okay
with
it because it would have been almost impossible to stop those two.
Oh, it's still going to be impossible. He's straight up 99 speed, 99 excel, and like 94 overall. Oh, he's still. Dude, that jet sweep play
is so petty, dude. I bet you that they put some sort of hardwired shittiness into his.
No, it wasn't in the beta. Wasn't in the beta, dude. He didn't.
Then I bet you it will be because especially because he's not about to catch any punishment. Watch, he's going to play for them week 1, and everybody's going to be so salty, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he can be like, "Oh, watch this," and they're going to give him. They did it with what's his name, the dude that played with the Cowboys and Panthers. Oh,
Greg Hardy.
Yeah, they gave him like 10 confidence or whatever. 10 personality, and he was a bum, dude. He was just a bum in the game.
It doesn't matter how fast they are, dude. Greg Hardy wasn't a 99 speed receiver though. That's the difference.
But
So,
I bet you drops will be an issue with him. Like they have
which
not
is
been.
crazy because Tyreek's pretty sure-handed.
Yeah,
Here's my
but I
thing
bet
though,
you
right?
it will be a
So,
problem.
so because of their 50 rule, right? They stripped him and they had to give it to another player, which in my mind was like,
Why do you
okay,
limit yourself like that? I
right.
don't understand.
So, guess what receiver got it? Like the fact that this receiver was not X factor to begin with is going to hurt your brain. Mike Evans.
Oh wow,
Like,
wow.
why wasn't he X factor to begin with?
That man willed Johnny Manziel into the NFL. Like,
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's not, guys, that's not an officially confirmed thing. This is me talking with a dev. But the
but
point
see, they
is,
did that. So does that mean? Does that mean then you can lose your superstar X factor because I know this
No.
year
no,
they would have guys losing dev traits because they have that
cannot-
quote certain
you-
number that you had to have.
you cannot lose dev in this game. If
Okay.
you are X factor, you'll always be X factor. Yep. You cannot lose dev. Now,
That's
franchise will
weird.
add to the pool. It's not always going to be 50 at any given moment. Like franchise rookies will add to the pool of X factor players. It's just in head to head. That's what's going to happen. Does that make sense? Like in head to head, there's only going to be 50 in the league.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But that's still, I don't know why you limit yourself to 50. Like, does that just make it sound like this exclusive club to be a part of? I mean,
Yeah, I guess so. It just seemed weird. Like you're going to snub guys.
there's 32 teams.
Right. I don't know if I necessarily agree with you that every player needs to have at least one. Every team needs to have at least one because you're going to dilute the idea of X factor. But I don't think there's like we could look at every team and I think we could find a player like Micah Hyde, maybe, or Tre'Davious White. I feel like there's somewhere in life that they could have earned
there
it.
should be different levels of the X factor then, and there should be there are the traits and stuff. Like you could be an X factor and only have one trait, and you could be an X factor and have I don't know however many there are per position or whatever. You can have all of them. Like you can show me a high school football team, and each side of the ball, you're gonna have one guy who is your X factor, and he is your best player. You rely
right, but is he
on
X factor in comparison to the league? Just because he's the best player on your team doesn't mean he compares to the elite of the league. For example,
yeah, it's not because everybody's not that much different. It's not a high school team going against a college team. Like
but that's the thing is the X factor guys are supposed to be. They're supposed to be the next level. For example, let's look at the Dolphins. Right, let's look at the Dolphins defense. They got talent. They got talent in their strong safety, Rashad Jones, who put up Cam Chancellor numbers.
Oh God! Enough with the Rashad Jones. We know you love Georgia guys. We know you love.
There's
He's about to get traded.
There's Minka Fitzpatrick. There's Xavier Howard. Those are all very talented dudes. Give them superstar. There's no need for them to be X factor. Those guys are not top 5 in their positions at all in any capacity. They're not. So why would we do that? Why would I give Minka Fitzpatrick a zone ability just because he's for the Dolphins? Like I'll give him some superstar abilities. We'll make him shine better in zone, and those do help stand out. Trust me, these superstar abilities aren't like just kind of gimmies. Like no, like they straight up are big game-changing things. The zone factor ones are a little.
That roster's pretty bad.
It's pretty raunchy. So they don't deserve an X factor because there's nobody in that. They don't have any of those guys, and they're best players.
If the Lions don't have one though, Darius Slay deserves to be one. I will definitely.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Obviously, I think so. I think he's talented. I also think there's the argument that Slay only shines because of the rest of the defense is just ass water. You know.
No, he's got physical traits that are off the charts too. Like
he's very quick, very talented zone defender. Great instincts. I like Slay. Trust me, you don't have to tell me. I love Darius Slay. I don't hate that he's not X factor, but in comparison to the other corners that have it, Byron Jones.
If it can be a hidden one, I think that it should be. Guys like Minka Fitzpatrick should be able to have it hidden until it comes out. It should be that he could be year 3, year 4, have a huge breakout season, have 6 interceptions, and
you can go up at depth.
Bust it out. But can you get that X factor once you go up?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It is a dev trait. So if you go win Defensive Player of the Year, Minka
I still think
it can't happen. You just can't go down. That's all.
I still think they'll screw. I like to give them the benefit of the doubt when I can, but they're not very good at this. Their algorithms are not very advanced, and they always seem to fuck this kind of stuff up. But we'll see. I'm excited to see it. I like changes in this. I think these are some of the things that make CFM the most exciting. I don't know if you remember, and this was like a real small Easter egg. It was like Madden 14 or something like that, which was Madden 20, I think, or something like that. And it was when the Leon Sandcastle thing was going on, right? I was in a franchise with my 3 other buddies, and this was like early in the days of CFM. And we used to trade for all the draft picks. And I ended up getting a first-round pick with the team that ended up getting the first overall pick. And I was the Cowboys. And Leon fucking Sandcastle all of a sudden declared for the draft. It was like this little like draft story that we didn't even see coming. It was at the very end of the year. And it was Leon's fucking Sandcastle, dude. I drafted him first overall, and it was Deion Sanders. It was everything about him was Deion Sanders, except for the fact that he was 21 years old, but all of his stats and everything were off the chain. So personally, I love like cool little like things that can happen in the CFM that make it exciting, that it's not just like this cookie cutter going through the motions thing. Like I want to see something happen that is like jaw-dropping worthy. Like, so to me, the more things that they can add like that, the better. Like I said, they haven't done anything cool like that since the Leon Sandcastle thing. And I don't know if they've got it in them, but we'll see. They've been making changes this year. Have you ever seen the Leon Sandcastle?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
I'm familiar with it. I wasn't doing online franchises like that, but I am familiar with what happened.
So that was the days when I think that actually overlaps too with the NCAA import thing. So we had like NCAA players from our leagues or whatever. So we're scouting like players years and years in advance. And then on top of all that, Leon Sandcastle drops. Like that to me, that was peak CFM. Like if we had the internet capabilities back then that we do now for everybody to have these, like those were the best Madden CFM days that I remember. Just because there's so much freedom, like, and the game was basically the same as it is now. But the NCAA import, man, that was so clutch.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited. I definitely have the vibes of the early Maddens. It just felt so much fun to play, man. Now, like the scenario engine looked a little corny to me. It looked a little like,
yeah,
it looked like it was ported from an old game. Like it's obvious. Hey, we're playing. Your offensive coordinator wants to speak to you.
Yeah.
Okay, what's up, man? Yeah, dude, we're playing J.J. Watt this week. I think that we should do one of these 3 things. What should we do? We should A, ignore him, B, try to stop him, slow him down, or C, try to neutralize him. And then based on which one you choose, the goal is harder or easier. And then you get a morale. Like, if that's all it is, then you wasted your time making a scenario engine. You wasted your time. That's it. That's all it is.
It's like all they did was take the old interview questions with other people, and instead of being, you get 10% more profits or whatever if you win or lose, or for each win, they've turned it into a morale boost, or 100 XP for each player. I mean, they're trying little things like that. I hope they didn't take that long to implement. I hope they didn't waste too much time doing those, and those are just sort of things that they're like, all right, let's just make sure we can add X amount of things to the game, and if we have to just sort of do some cookie cutter things like that, fine, like whatever, they need their back of the box stuff. But I don't know, it's whatever. It's gonna be one of those things that at least I can get a bonus out of it. But
yeah, I'd like to see a scenario where you have to you're making promises to a player, and if you make a promise and you follow through on that promise, then the likelihood of them re-signing, taking a better deal, or whatever the case may be, matters. Versus, say I go into free agency and I sign so-and-so to a 2-year deal, and I tell him in free agency, like it's part of a pitch. Like it's not just a money amount. It's like, hey, dude, look, I'm looking to bring you in and start you. You know what I'm saying? You're coming in to start for this team versus a rotational player or whatever. And then if you don't follow through on that prearranged discussion with that player, like you'll get reminded. You'll be like, hey, man, this is what you set this player to do. You told this player that he was going to start 80% of all defensive snaps, and he's played 30%. So he wants out of his contract, or he's not showing up to camp.
And maybe this is the base of it. Maybe this is the beginning of something like that. That definitely is long, long overdue.
Well, that's crazy. It's because it's in FIFA. It's in these other games where when you negotiate with somebody, you're not only negotiating the money, but you're talking about what their role is in this team. And if you don't, like, you can offer them all the money in the world, but if they want to be a full-time starter and you're offering him a nickel corner rotation role, then he may not go to your team. Or if he sees that, or maybe it's smart enough to see the depth chart and go, hey, look, man, I'm not really trying to come in and compete against 5 corners that are better than me, so I'm not going to come to your team. And then now free agent players are going to teams that can do more. But once again, I think you're right. It is a little bit of ways away. They're in the right direction. The gameplay improvements have been phenomenal. Still waiting to see what they change to franchise, but I'm positive that it's going to be pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to play. I mean, I'm really hoping I get Carolina in my main league. That's going to be just having Cam, the pump fake, the left trigger to pull it down, just the ability to just, oh, man, it's so fun to define.
In my notes, what I wrote as my overall summary of this experience was that it was very arcadish, but it was realistic execution. So, like, we want to be able to play a game that's fun and exciting, that we can make cool plays that that feel like that we made them, but we don't want to play a game that just feels like NFL Blitz at the same time. And I felt like they really did a good job of towing that line and nailing it to be a good medium and a good balance of realism, yet crazy plays that that we feel like we executed. That's always been my desire, is that all of the craziest plays in Madden right now, they feel like the game kind of my buddy had this line one time, and it was a parody of Jesus take the wheel, and it's Madden take the wheel. It feels like that sometimes, like you're not even actually executing the play, but Madden's like, oh, hold on, you need this little extra boost here. Let me guide you into the end zone. Let me have you break 3 tackles, spin move right past this guy, and break an 80-yard run just when you needed it. So it felt like they did a really good job of towing that line. I'm sure that I'll feel differently after a full season of CFM, where I'm getting completely, I don't even know the right politically correct way to say it, but taken advantage of by Madden in certain instances where I'm getting abused by, another guy being able to use his X Factor player in some cheesy way.
Right. What I'm also noticing across all the leagues is there's such a difference in everybody's top 5 list of teams to take. In my league, the Browns went first, but that's because it was a Browns fan.
Ooh, you guys have already taken teams already.
No. So we did a lottery style pick. We talked about it last time, and we happen to have a player in our league who he's a huge Browns fan. He's been in the league for 4 seasons. He's never had him. And last year the Browns were finally good, and one of our CMs took him instead of letting him have it. And it was like everybody was just kind of like, all right, that's fine that you took him, but can you let him have his team now? Like, he's like the only Browns fan in the whole league has to deal with his team being shit every year of his life. And finally, when they're good, everybody wants them as their Madden team. And he's like, I kind of wanted them. You know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't a dig about it, but it was obvious that it seemed fair. So we gifted him. We the CMs found out what his real address was, sent him like a Browns hat and a Browns shirt, and said, with the first pick in the top Madden lottery draft, Shrimp, that's why he goes by Shrimp, selects the Cleveland Browns. So that was our gift to the league. So he picked first, and then we did the CMs picked the next 5 teams, and then everybody else was determined by a lottery draft. You had lottery balls based on how long you've been in the league, if you did content, if you were part of the trade committee, whatever.
Yeah, I've been part of a league like that.
So we did that. I'm picking 10, but kind of getting a feel. Obviously, a lot of people in that league are smoke screening, especially the CMs are smoke screening who they want, even though it doesn't really matter because they already know, but they don't want to give away. We don't officially pick teams until rosters drop. Once rosters drop,
I was going to say, I got to see those rookie numbers, man, before I can pick it.
Yeah.
When I don't know that I'm going to have the Cowboys, I have to wait until the rookie numbers drop, because you got to know. That's the biggest difference. It's like
I made my mind up for PML. I'm going Lions. I'm not going to waver. I almost did it in my Xbox League, but the league is just I'm just trying so hard to win a damn Super Bowl. I've been to 2 across the cycles that I've been in, and I lost both in pretty much gut-wrenching fashion. So I got to get back there. This one I wanted to build a little bit, have this as a building experience. But yeah, man, the top 5 list obviously.
I feel like the Cardinals, man. The Cardinals have got to be up there.
Cardinals are in there. I think for the top 5 for our league, they're going to go. You know, obviously DJ's good.
So many
solid defense. They have good linebackers with Jordan Hicks, Hassan Reddick, Chandler Jones is talented pass rusher. Very deserving of the X factor. I don't know if he has it. You have Larry Fitzgerald, who I hope has it. If he doesn't, has some superstar traits to make him viable. But that was another thing I noticed is like Edelman mattered. You know what I'm saying? Like Julian Edelman stood out so much to me in the beta. Like, dude, if you were the Patriots, you had 1 all day to throw because Tom has the ability to help his offensive line pass protect, and 2, Edelman in a slot would wreck every linebacker one-on-one. Out routes, in routes, they just opened up so much against zone linebackers this game. It was fantastic in the beta. And Jules was shredding people, dude. It was insane. Like, you could not leave him alone. I was manning him up. I was usering him every play just to stop the Patriots player from throwing at Edelman, of all people.
See, I like that, though. That would be fun.
Dude, to make those guys matter, those dudes that aren't the fastest, like tight ends, I think are going to matter so much now that seam routes are back. Like I took Eagles at 5 in one of the side Xbox leagues because Zach Ertz is just going to be so dominant with his X Factor ability. So,
I need to look at the X Factor list
for Zach Ertz.
The list altogether. I don't even know. I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah, there's a running list somewhere. It's a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of receivers. I know like Ertz, Kittle, and Kelsey are the tight ends that have it.
Seems fair.
Yeah. I'm glad Kittle has it. The Niners roster's nasty. I could see them being a top 5 team. The Chargers roster.
I don't like Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't like his
right. The Saints have 3 on offense alone. And then Marshawn Lattimore. So they're the only team with 4 X factors, I believe.
So the Saints are a cool one based on how the draft classes look. How likely are you to get – because you're going to need a new quarterback like year 2.
Right, or 3. So I think that's why they have so many. Same for the Chargers. It's not Casey Hayward. Casey Hayward doesn't have it. Derwin James has it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I remember having this conversation with somebody. So Casey Hayward, I mentioned earlier, has X Factor. He doesn't. Derwin James has X Factor. But that's a really good team to have. You got Keenan Allen. You got Hunter Henry. You got X Factor Melvin Gordon. X Factor Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers is an X Factor?
Yeah.
Ugh.
X Factor Joey Bosa. X Factor Derwin James. All you need is a linebacker. You got some corner talent. You got Desmond King. So there's talent in the Chargers. The Colts are a talented roster, especially if Paris Campbell ends up with like 95, 96 speed to go up with, T.Y. Hilton and Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
I'd imagine Luck is X Factor. Yeah, man, the Ravens. The Ravens grabbed 2 players on offense that are expected to be 95 speed or higher, and Hollywood Brown and Justice Hill, on top of 94 speed if they keep it from the last updated rosters, Lamar Jackson. 94 speed, 95 excel Lamar Jackson. So there's that to deal with. So there's so many teams, and once again, like we mentioned earlier, play styles. It all depends. If the guy picking 50 in your league wants to have, a quarterback that can make every throw, that can do everything, you may see the Saints, the Packers, or the Steelers, like with their X factors and stuff like that. Like that's going to matter. It's going to matter. Devontae Adams has it, I believe, and of course Aaron Rodgers. Or if they're a mobile guy, you're right. The Arizona Cardinals, first pick in the draft. I'm sure everybody's expecting Kyler Murray to have some kind of X factor zone ability. So it's pretty crazy. I had one guy take Colts first overall in the league. So I guess it all depends. There's a lot of there's only really 3 teams I can think of that are just dog shit. And that's, the Bills, Dolphins and the Lions. Everybody else, even if they're in cap hell, have talent, like the Vikings.
Well,
You know?
I always know that my Cowboys are going to be low key blessed, just because Equipment Guru has always got our back. So
I cannot believe you just blasphemy and you just take it all in. You're just cool with it. So if you could fix one thing from the beta, if there was one thing that stood out to you that you would like to see fixed from gameplay before,
all right, we should wrap it up after that because we've been talking for the people are getting their money's worth here for us doing a podcast a month for sure.
Well, but this is the big one, right? Because we got the gameplay.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised we talked for a minute. But this will be the last thing. If there's anything you could just change about the gameplay, is there just one thing that you would like to see, or you maybe want to see toned down? It doesn't have to be this game-breaking idea. Just something that whenever you play it again in the EA Access.
You know what? I didn't have a lot of negatives written down. It's funny. I'm looking through my notes right now, and I had pretty much a lot of compliments about, especially gameplay. But so I wrote that the game feels faster, right? But underneath that, there are also these weird sort of warpy, sped-up animations that felt very unrealistic. Like a guy sort of just all of a sudden flying to the ball. It felt like there's a glitch almost in the screen that all of a sudden a guy just teleported to make a tackle. Those have got to go. Those have been obnoxious for years, but they seemed even weirder or worse than they did before. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
Yeah, and that just might be the typical beta stuff, just clearing it out. And the best thing you can do is obviously take a screenshot or video of what happened if you ever see it.
Well, we couldn't because it was
not the beta, right? But they had the forum, right? So taking note of what play, what set you were running on offense, what set they were running on defense, that's normally like the first things they ask for, and then a description of what happened, and then submit it to them.
Yeah.
And then when the game comes out to do that. For me, it was kind of two things in one. One, the depth of zones. I felt like very often a zone they would depth themselves out of a zone and a guy would get behind cover 3 or something. Like I just felt like the zones weren't playing deep enough at times when there was a logical reason to stop playing that zone. Very much this happened on like 3rd and long and stuff, specifically to the thirds. But I had already spoken with Mo. He said that was being addressed a little bit. And then the playmaker. I noticed once again, once you start a playmaker guys, especially if you had like Brady and all that time and you were playmaker and players up around the field, they were just getting way too open downfield. And I think that's just because zones are just topping out. I think that they need to kind of improve the way the corners play some of their zones a little bit. Because if you're going to nerf linebackers, then that means you have to help with the other zones.
Yeah.
Because now the deep, like you said, the deep middle of the field, it gets absolutely shredded.
I mean, cover 2. No, I don't even recommend it right now. After my first experience, don't even run cover 2.
Right. So, and I will say this: we didn't get much of a learning curve.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like what Mo said is you're going to have to make adjustments every play. You're going to have to make adjustments on defense every single play to be successful against good players. So maybe that was it, you know. So, but we can leave it at that. Super excited about it. Roster should be dropping early next month. Excited to get that going. We'll be back here to talk about all the Cowboys that are overrated. Can't wait to hear about all you guys' players and how happy you are about it. We'll talk about TJ Hawkinson. We'll talk about.
I mean, Anthony Brown got star development, dude. Anthony fucking Brown, like.
Right. Like it's just like, yeah, y'all had a great year, but the whole squad ain't ready to eat. Like, just give it to D-Law and call it a day. Just give it to D-Law. Maybe like star dev to LVE. Or Byron Jones, and then let that be it. Not the whole squad, Guru. But
I'm okay with it.
Whatever. All right, guys. Well, that's it for this week's episode. We probably went for like 2 hours, but
dude, that was a good hour and 30,
dude,
45.
We got gameplay, bro. It's time to talk. It's time to eat.
No, what it's time for is that we make these more regularly, break them down, and talk about specific things each time. But we're working on it. We'll get it down for next year.
We'll work there. So, and then as always, if you haven't already, put in join.premiermadden.com. Put in, read the rules, fill out your fucking resume or whatever the hell it is that JT's got going on that website. Apply for the league. Get yourself a spot in the PlayStation 4 league to be in. So we'll catch you guys next time. Later.